Hello everyone. In this video I will discuss one of the film called Rubicon 2022, and never forget that I always pray for you and your family to be happy and healthy always. In the year 2056, Earth entered a severe air crisis condition, where only the wealthy could live inside the air domes. Meanwhile, the governments of nations around the world had collapsed. A private company called Nebra Corporation took over governance. They owned a space station called Rubicon, tasked with creating refuge outside of Earth. A spacecraft named Vesta 1 was seen carrying two individuals named Commander Hannah and Gavin. They were sent from Nebra's air dome to join the Rubicon space station, guided by an AI named Navikon to manage navigation. Suddenly, the Rubicon station reported discrepancies in speed and position between the information provided by AI Navikon and what Commander Hannah relayed. Simultaneously, the spacecraft was about to collide with the station. Hannah requested permission to activate manual mode, but the Central Command refused, as Nebra didn't want to take the risk in case of an error. Hannah disregarded the orders and activated manual mode, fortunately averting the collision and successfully docking with the Rubicon station safely. Afterward, the personnel at the Rubicon Center were puzzled because the AI system Navikon had never experienced such a disruption before. They also noticed the military insignia on Hannah's ear and were confused as to why Nebra had sent a soldier. Hannah and Gavin were then escorted to the cabin where they would reside. Later, Hannah contacted her sibling Knopf on Earth to inform her of her condition. Knopf, who was also a soldier, was currently assigned to the air dome. At that moment, Knopf informed her that she would soon be on duty guarding the air dome. Hannah and Gavin introduced themselves to all the Rubicon station crew members. Hannah identified herself as a Nebra soldier, while Gavin introduced himself as a Nebra chemist. The leader of the Rubicon station was named Dr. Dimitri, and he greeted both of them with a neutral expression, as did Dimitri's son, Danilo. It should be noted that the Rubicon station crew, owned by Nebra, had disagreements with Nebra's headquarters because they had decided to build the air dome only to accommodate the wealthy on Earth. The Rubicon station crew disagreed with this decision, and even Danilo clashed with and insulted Gavin by calling him a domey kid. Then, a crew member informed them of the flight route of the Vesta 2 spacecraft that they were going to undertake. They were momentarily confused when Nebra's headquarters on Earth changed their landing route due to reports of thick clouds covering it. It turns out that the arrival of Commander Hannah and Gavin at this station was to replace the positions of the other crew members, while the rest of the crew would soon return to Earth. All crew members departed except for Dr. Dimitri, who stayed at the station with Hannah and Gavin. Dimitri bid farewell to his son Danilo, and finally all of them departed. After that, Hannah secretly communicated with one of her superiors on Earth. She was instructed to immediately carry out a secret mission called Icarus. The mission aimed to retrieve all the algae that recycled carbon dioxide into the air in the Rubicon station and then transfer it to the air dome to sustain the wealthy people. Hannah sneaked into the air recycling center and uncovered a panel containing a device called Icarus, but her action failed because Dimitri entered the room. Afterward, Hannah received an emergency radio call from the crew of Vesta 2, who were about to enter Earth's orbit, but couldn't reach Nebra headquarters. When Hannah tried to contact Nebra headquarters, there was no response either. The situation became tense when the AI system Navikon, which controlled the landing, went offline. Hannah suspected that something was wrong with the antenna at the station. She decided to go outside to repair it manually. However, while Hannah was fixing the antenna, the Vesta 2 spacecraft sent a Mayday distress signal. All the crew members screamed in fear as the spacecraft was engulfed in intense flames. Eventually, Vesta 2 completely lost contact with the Rubicon station. In that moment, Hannah turned her gaze toward Earth. It was shocking to see a horrifying sight, thick black clouds slowly covering the entire surface of the Earth. Hannah hurried back inside. All communication with Earth had been cut off. Dimitri appeared devastated after losing his son. Hannah went to her room and saw an emergency message from Knopf instructing the evacuation of all residents into the bunker. 2 days later, Hannah and Gavin had not received any contact from Earth, while Dimitri decided to isolate himself. Even when Hannah brought him food, Dimitri would chase her away. He didn't want to talk about anything. They all felt sorrowful because their entire families might have perished due to the deadly black cloud event, leaving only the 3 surviving human beings. Hannah didn't give up hope. She tried to fix the old ISS radio, whose signal range could penetrate the thick Earth clouds. On the other hand, Gavin was examining the chemical analysis of Earth's atmosphere. Hannah noticed Gavin's frustration. Gavin locked himself in an airtight room, and Hannah ran in panic, shouting to Dimitri that there was an emergency. Dimitri finally came out of his room and they tried to get Gavin out of the sealed room. After struggling to disable the locking system, the door finally opened. They immediately administered artificial respiration to Gavin, and fortunately, they managed to save him before he passed away. Dimitri's relationship with Hannah had not been good from the beginning. Dimitri accused Hannah of being a spy who would sabotage his algae recycling system. Dimitri had suspected all along that there was a hidden agenda behind Nibra Corporation, sending a soldier to the Rubikon station. A few moments later, while they were busy with their respective tasks, Gavin suddenly began to run aimlessly. They saw Gavin in a panic, saying that everyone down there was dead. Eventually, Dimitri sedated Gavin to prevent him from harming himself. Dimitri began to reveal everything, and they expressed condolences for the deaths of Danilo, Dimitri's son, and Knopf, Hannah's sister. Hannah then informed Dimitri that she was repairing the old ISS radio and asked for Dimitri's guidance. As he was the one who knew the ins and outs of the station, Hannah went back out and fixed the cable network to activate the radio. With nervous anticipation, she successfully contacted everyone on Earth, but unfortunately, no one answered the radio call. At that moment, Gavin woke up and asked to be let out. Gavin, who was feeling a bit better, shared what he had discovered about the toxic cloud on Earth. It was a long-feared permafrost gas that was now causing problems. Eventually, this permafrost gas reacted with other substances, such as factory or industrial combustion fumes, creating a deadly chain reaction. In essence, humanity was facing extinction after this. Gavin was despondent, but Hannah conveyed that there were bunkers on Earth and that there was still hope for survival. Gavin insisted that humanity had no hope because the bunkers on Earth were not designed for long-term survival and their conditions wouldn't allow them to live here forever. Dimitri issued an ultimatum to Gavin that if he ended his life, it would mean he was killing everyone. The oxygen recycling system on the station could only function with a minimum of 3 people. If there were fewer than 3 people, the exchange of carbon dioxide with oxygen would not work, and the oxygen would run out. If only the 2 of them survived, they would all die. Afterward, Gavin and Hannah chatted and both of them laughed heartily because they didn't expect that the 3 of them were the last remaining humans, and they decided to establish a more intense relationship. In short, a few weeks passed, and Hannah noticed the appearance of strange brownish spots on the algae. She immediately summoned Dimitri to check it out. Dimitri took a sample of the algae and examined it. He realized something but chose to remain silent. A few moments later, while Hannah was at the control center, she received a radio contact from someone at the Nibra Center. Hannah informed Dimitri and Gavin about this good news. Gavin and Hannah listened to the information conveyed in the message. The message stated that they were taking refuge in the air dome bunker, with 300 people seeking shelter, all of whom were Nibra's families and officials. It began when thick fog suddenly appeared, people coughed and collapsed, and they were all evacuated by the soldiers to take shelter in the dome. Now they were all about to die because they didn't have an air recycling system. Upon hearing this news, Hannah was happy because the soldiers were still alive, which meant her sister Knopf was alive. On the other hand, Dimitri realized that more algae were changing color. He attempted to eat the algae to see if it was safe. Then Gavin and Hannah appeared and informed him that there were 300 people in need of help in the bunker. That's why they needed to assist them by bringing the algae to the bunker. However, Dimitri argued with them. Flying to Earth without the assistance of an AI Navicon to guide the spacecraft was a crazy idea. If they died trying to bring the algae to the bunker, it would be equivalent to the extinction of humanity. It was better for them to stay on the Rubicon station as long as they wanted and start human life anew here. Gavin considered Dimitri selfish and stated that he would bring the algae to Earth without Dimitri's assistance. A moment later, Gavin and Hannah prepared while carrying a box to pack the algae. Hannah gave Dimitri a choice between joining them or dying on the station. Without hesitation, Dimitri showed them several sheets of algae that had turned brownish. He informed them that the algae had been infected with a disease. Human urine, which was the source of food for the algae, had become contaminated because it contained the HCG hormone. Surprisingly, the hormone originated from Hannah, who was currently pregnant. If they insisted on taking the algae to Earth, the algae might not survive. Hannah was surprised by the news of her pregnancy, but insisted on bringing the algae to Earth to save the people. Hannah went to the Vesta 1 spacecraft and performed a manual landing simulation without AI assistance several times to ensure their safe return to Earth. Gavin arrived and expressed his happiness about having a child and his desire to live with Hannah and her child on Earth. Then, with Dimitri's assistance, they loaded the algae into the spacecraft. Strangely, Dimitri did not voice any objections at this point, which made Gavin slightly suspicious. They then entered the spacecraft and prepared for liftoff. Suddenly, the spacecraft system indicated that the fuel tank was overheating and causing the spacecraft to vibrate violently, as if it were about to explode. They aborted liftoff and went to the control center, where they discovered that the fuel tank cooling system had been down for nearly 11 hours. Gavin then attempted to repair the spacecraft against Hannah's efforts to stop him, as the spacecraft could explode at any moment. Hannah arranged for the spacecraft to lift off, and shortly afterward, it indeed exploded. After this incident, they no longer had a chance to return to Earth. A few days later, Nebra headquarters on Earth inquired about what had happened. Gavin informed them of the previous events. Then, suddenly, Gavin came to see Hannah with a curious expression and asked what Icarus was. Hannah explained that Icarus was a secret military mission, and all the algae labs on the station could actually be separated and launched to Earth. Gavin immediately asked Hannah to carry out Icarus so that the 300 people on Earth could be saved. After that, Hannah intended to check on the algae. She accidentally found the cooling system for the fuel tank of Vesta 1, which had been deactivated. There was no doubt that Dimitri had caused the destruction of Vesta 1. Annoyed, Hannah asked Dimitri to execute Project Icarus, but Dimitri disagreed with the decision. According to him, Nebra Corporation was a deceitful company. They already knew the deadly fog was coming. Therefore, they sent Hannah to retrieve the oxygen recycling system of the algae on Station Rubicon. Nebra chose not to inform everyone because they didn't want to share the bunker. Hannah remained resolute in her decision and would carry out Project Icarus. Before departing, Hannah asked Nebra headquarters to establish communication with Knopf. Surprisingly, they told Hannah that there were no soldiers in the bunker, including Knopf. In other words, the soldiers had died from the deadly fog and left the other 300 people alive in the bunker. Hearing this news frustrated Hannah. The wealthy people in the bunker considered the lives of the soldiers less valuable than their own. Because of her anger, Hannah decided not to return to Earth to save them all, which left Gavin disappointed. Then Hannah removed the military insignia from behind her ear, indicating that she was no longer a Nebra soldier and would not be involved in Project Icarus. Meanwhile, Gavin rebelled by tying up Dimitri and intending to carry out Project Icarus without involving Hannah. However, after seeing Hannah through the locked door, Gavin was convinced that Hannah agreed with what he was doing. He opened the door and invited Hannah to join the Icarus mission. Moments later, they were about to take off when suddenly Hannah pressed the button to cancel the launch. Gavin pleaded with Hannah to proceed with Icarus, but Hannah insisted on staying at the station. Hannah destroyed the Icarus activation device and also severed communication with Nebra headquarters on Earth. Shortly afterward, she realized that Gavin was nowhere to be seen. It turned out that Gavin had decided to end his life in the vacuum of space. Hannah was deeply devastated by Gavin's drastic act. They then released Gavin's body into space, and Hannah invited Dimitri to help fix Icarus so that they could all depart. Dimitri was confused about why Hannah had suddenly changed her mind, but Hannah explained that it was in line with what Dimitri had told her earlier. The oxygen recycling system in the station would not function if there were only 2 people. Gavin's desperate action, as he was now deceased, forced them to proceed with Icarus. Dimitri then felt a profound sense of guilt, realizing that it was all his manipulation. Dimitri had lied on purpose to prevent Gavin from attempting to take his own life, similar to his previous suicide attempt. With all of these explanations, Gavin's death had not changed anything. This incident had been in vain and had not altered anything. Years passed, and some years later Hannah had a daughter who had now reached a young age. She named her Knopf in honor of her late sister. On that day, Knopf was playing near the old radio equipment. She used the device and unexpectedly connected with children on Earth. The Earthbound children asked if Knopf was playing outside, to which Knopf replied that she wasn't. The Earthbound children reassured her that it was safe to go outside and invited her to join their group because the Earth was returning to its normal state. True enough, at that moment, Earth had returned to normal, and the deadly thick clouds had disappeared from its surface. And that's it for the story series of this film. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to support this channel by subscribe, like and share. See you in the next video. Goodbye.